There was that Seth Wickersham article that came out about some of the excerpts from the article about Caleb Williams not wanting to go to Chicago, wanting to go to Minnesota. He had yet to speak about the situation until he met with the media yesterday, addressed it, and was also asked who's calling the shots between him and his dad.
I had a good visit at the other place, Minnesota, with Kevin O'Connell, good staff and all of that, obviously. He just won Coach of the Year award and things like that. So, but something that keeps getting lost, something that keeps getting, I think, not being addressed the way it needs to be, is the fact that, I went on that visit first, came here, and then after I came here, it was a deliberate answer and determined answer that I had, is that I wanted to come here.
Does your dad speak for you?
No. No. I actually shut my dad down quite a bit. He has ideas. He's a smart man. And so I listen, and I always listen. And I'm very fortunate to be in this position in the sense of, playing QB, but also very fortunate to have a very strong-minded father. But no. Definitely a grown man, and, I shut him down quite a lot just because, in season, out of season, it's something that you have to do. He cares so much about me and, my future, and we've been along this journey so long together that, all he wants is the best for me.
So at least we know that the article was true. The excerpts of the article were true because none of it was denied, and now he's got to address all this stuff.
How unrealistic is it for someone who, and LaVar, again, you've been through the process, I've been through the process. There's different visits, there's different moments in time that you have with teams where you think to yourself, wow, I'd really like to play for that team. I'd really like to play for that coach. So it's not that hard when you hear his explanation to go, yeah, I could relate to that. I mean, if you guys have met Kevin O'Connell, talked to Kevin O'Connell, he's a great dude. I mean, you could see why people gravitate towards him. You could see why he's had success. It's not just the roster. It's not just guys like Justin Jefferson. He's an incredible offensive mind, but he's the type of guy that makes you want to play for him. And he's got an opportunity now with Minnesota to really continue to keep building off of what they were able to do the past few years. But I digress. The point is, I think sometimes you kind of get infatuated with stuff. Like when guys who've been in a long-term relationship turn single, every person you meet after that, you're like, oh man, she's awesome. Or, oh, this is awesome. Or this is different. It's awesome. Like, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but that's how I see it. So I've never had an issue with this, only because that's probably what happened or occurred during the course of, his time being evaluated as a draft prospect. You probably fall in love with a lot of teams, a lot of people.
J.J. McCarthy said the same thing about Kevin O'Connell before the draft. Like, I remember that story was out. And also, it's not like in any critique or criticism they had about the Bears organization was wrong. It was all right. And what dad wouldn't want their son to be in the best situation, especially knowing how the NFL works? Look at Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett wasn't drafted that long ago, and there was a standing ovation and celebration that he was in Pittsburgh and he was going to stay home and play football there. And now he's on his third team and might potentially be on his fourth team if Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders show some signs of promise in training camp. So, I totally get why his dad would have concerns. Wouldn't you want your son to be in the best position possible to succeed, knowing how cruel the NFL world is and how fast this stuff goes?
I think it's interesting how parents can be villainized at times. I look at this situation, this scenario, like, why ask is like, is your dad calling the shots? What if he was calling the shots? What if he is? He's an astute businessman, has done very well. I mean, he went beyond the call of duty to make sure he gave Caleb every resource that he could possibly have growing up. Caleb played in our 8th grade All-Star game and was a part of our 7-on-7 tournaments that we were doing, all mammal tournaments. And I've had, my team, myself, we've had, great conversations with the father, with Mark McCain, the personal trainer that has been with Caleb from the beginning. His dad has always guided and managed Caleb. Always. I think it's interesting when people start to have these strong opinions like, oh, the dad, he's overbearing, he's da-da-da. Like you see this with Dion, and, you hear it with other people. And my whole thing is that these phenomenons that you're seeing, you do realize that there was a time where you had no idea who they were. You didn't know who they were going to be. You don't know who they are, and you don't have an opinion about them. You're talking about what's in your face. But to that dad, that is his business every single day, to make sure that he's raising his children the way that he needs to raise them, in the way to have success. Now he gets into a position where he's having success at the college level, and you want to have conversations about how involved is your dad? Like, why are you villainizing his dad? And why are you trying to make it like it's a slight against Caleb Williams? Caleb Williams shouldn't have to defend his dad. You know how many things that they've gone through for him to get to where he's at in this point in his life? Now it's all of a sudden it's a problem. Well, I just think that it's I feel like, because I just saw this same thing on Jayden Daniels' mother. Like I keep seeing like there's like these media attacks on parents. And I don't understand, where does that come from? It's a little bit more personal because I know the Williams family, and it's not like I'm not close friends with them. I don't go to Sunday dinners with them, but I am aware of how hard that man has worked to position Caleb to even have the opportunity to have some of the things come his way that they have, and then all of a sudden people have something to say about it. I just think that that's interesting, and I thought it was like, where does that even come from, right? Like in the situation, was it appropriate for the conversation that they were having with him about the team? Like, okay, you're asking him, did he want to play for the Chicago Bears versus, say, the Minnesota Vikings? Like, okay, does that become a major part of the conversation to talk about his dad? How much is his dad, running the show? I guess maybe it's appropriate, but I just feel like positioning a parent as like a villain, like, oh, they're too involved, or they're meddling, or they're the problem. You got a supportive dad that understands business. Like, it can't just be just that.
I just go back to this. The most notable examples are John Elway's dad and what he pulled with when Elway was getting drafted by Baltimore, and then Archie Manning when it came to Eli Manning getting drafted by San Diego. Baltimore left Baltimore and San Diego left San Diego. So they were right. Like they were concerned. And so, and what did the organizations do to prove them wrong? Left the city that they were concerned about their guy going to. So like, I really don't have an issue with it. And I know that people either, like, do you speak for yourself? Do you have any, why can't it be collaborative? And
right.
The fact that he even has to say, well, I shut him down all the time. Like, you shouldn't have even said that.
Maybe that's why I took it personal, because I didn't like that.
Who cares?
I had to shut my dad down. Like, he doesn't have to appease you.
Yeah, like, who cares?
What you mean? You're right, Jonas.
Hell yeah.
Well,
Again,
it sounds like this is personal. Sounds like LaVar maybe has tried to get shut down a couple of times. He's not taking it overly well.
Yeah, there you go.
Just throw that out there.
No, that's not it at all.
In all seriousness, though, it is odd to me how some of the critics or some of the people who are saying this either aren't parents or don't have kids, right? Haven't even experienced what that relationship is like. And on top of it, he's got his son to this point. So you think you know better than the dad or the father of these children? Like you think, like, I mean, again, maybe they do have experience. And if they do, though, is your kid in the same position? He won a Heisman, is going to be the number 1 overall pick. Talked about as a generational talent. So if you're not in that category, maybe you shouldn't be speaking on it, of what role the dad plays then in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, how can you be critical of someone who's been able to raise their kid up to this point? Do you think he's going to steer him wrong now? Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be mistakes made along the way. But one of the things that I thought was interesting about the entire process for Caleb Williams before the draft was they were looking at things different than any other prospect we'd seen before. They were seeing like what capabilities they talked about, signing with the UFL. They talked about, different ways of trying to not, sign into the contract the way it was, getting a portion of the team, right? Equity within the team. What's wrong with them asking the question?
Right.
Someone explain to me, if I was getting ready to sign a contract with a company and I said, you know what, don't pay me as much. I want to be so invested and want to be lockstep with you guys. I want you actually to give me a portion of what I'm supposed to be compensated in equity in the company, because I want to be with this company. I want to help grow this company and make it successful. What's wrong with that? Like, why? They can only say no. Like, hey, that's against the rules, or no one's done, or this won't be allowed. Okay. There's no harm in that. There's no harm in looking at things from outside the box and pushing envelopes. Like, it seems like people have an issue with people who either think in a creative manner or think outside of what conventional wisdom tells us.
That's what it is.
But the truth is, that's how you move the ball forward. And honestly, and I said this during that time, he was one of the unique prospects where if he could try to go somewhere else, if he could try to put himself in the best situation, they were going to try to. And he could, because he's that good. There's not many players that fall into that category. So I never had an issue with it. I don't have an issue with the dad or the son or anything. He's an extremely talented kid. I hope they can turn things around in Chicago for the Chicago fan base. I think the pairing with Ben Johnson is a step in the right direction. Obviously, how things were going wasn't headed in the right direction. And we know how big of a role ownership plays, but I don't get it. I don't understand why people have an issue when you get people who come along who are so special or so talented, and the people around them are trying to do something that's never been done before. Because once that happens, then it kind of opens the box for others behind them. But until you have somebody who's able to do that, you don't think it's possible. I mean, in all seriousness, when Archie Manning did that with Eli, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, damn, I know that was possible.
Right.
I mean, even some of the players who have skipped out on certain things, whether it's, the combine or workouts, all this stuff, it's like, well, yeah, it makes sense. If 80% of what they're being graded on is the actual film, and you can go meet with them and get a feel for their character, and you're looking at their medical and all, like, none of that has to do with anything that involves a pro day. None of that has to do with anything that involves throwing or working out at the combine. And so if you're like 90% of your decision or 95% of your decision is made based on film, medical, and your evaluation of them in meetings and hanging around them, then why the hell are we doing it? Like, a lot of these players do it because they have to, because it's what's always been done before, because it's what drives TV ratings now in the spring, because the NFL has made the combine a big deal. I mean, if that's what it's all about, then when you don't have head coaches or even entire staffs going anymore, what are we doing? So I don't know. I guess that's what bothers me about all of this is there was a label placed on the Williams family because of the manner in which they conducted themselves before he got drafted. And the truth is, it was probably good for a lot of people, future generations, but also the NFLPA, to be like, oh, we can actually, push the envelope or do some different things. We don't have to just follow the order that the NFL has provided us all along.